What's going on, y'all? Good afternoon. How y'all feeling? Sorry I'm late to the morning coffee, I know. But my schedule is kind of getting weird and iffy these days now that I'm starting to ramp up other things. So just as a FYI, it's going to be sometimes afternoon, sometimes morning, but we're going to get the coffee. The coffee going to be getting to, okay? We're going to get to the coffee because there's always something to discuss. Happy belated Juneteenth, by the way. I hope that y'all all had a great Juneteenth. I was kind of disappointed. I was telling folks earlier, like in New York City, we got rained out. Okay? We got rained out. So I was outside. And then when we got outside, we was ready to be outside, it started raining. I was sick. I was so mad. I was so mad. But we went outside for a little bit. I hope y'all enjoyed y'all Juneteenth. And it was as blickety, blackety, black as possible. And you know what I'm saying? All of that. So also, yes, for those of you who've been in the trenches with me, my sister had a baby, so morning coffee has also been spotty because I've been going with my sister to the doctor when her boyfriend couldn't make it, blah, 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 and they finally had their baby, beautiful baby boy. He came out very tiny, 5 pounds, 1 ounce. They're finally home, so we're lit, we're excited, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I can't. I'm just waiting to go see him now. Like, she at the doctor's office, and I'm like, I can't wait to go see the baby. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, thank y'all for checking in on me. I love y'all. Y'all real ones. But let's get into morning coffee real quick. Let's get into morning coffee. So welcome back to morning coffee. We got a few things to discuss today. But today I actually want to start with something that's super important to me, which is the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf situation. So I've been noticing an influx of people commenting on old videos about Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, and I was trying to figure out what that was about. But then I went to go see, because I usually don't read the comments. I went to go see, and it's a bunch of people saying that the video from the incident was released, and they're asking me if I still believe it's self-defense, and basically trying to debunk everything that I've said about the incident. I want to make this crystal clear. One is that I still do believe it's self-defense. And if it comes out otherwise, then it comes out otherwise. But with the details we currently have, I still see it as self-defense. The other thing I want to make extremely important is that people don't read. People read headlines, and that's a large part of how misinformation gets spread on the internet. So when I went to go look up what the information about the video being released, there's a few things that are important to note. One is that it is not released to the public, so you cannot find that video anywhere to watch it yourself. The reason it's not released to the public is because it goes against children's privacy acts and laws. They cannot publish a video publicly where it has underage children in it, specifically around the kids in this incident, but also the kids who were seen as witnesses and were seen running. The other thing is that the folks who did get to see it, because it was released to media outlets, only media outlets got to view it. And what was shared from the media outlets is that you could not, neither one, Austin Metcalf or Anthony Karmelo, are identifiable in the video. What people did not look into was the fact that the video was a zoomed out video, and the video showed it from a distant lens, and you couldn't really make out anything except there was a commotion there, and then they saw people running, and then the video showed the EMT arriving, so on and so forth. So the video that people are saying has been released of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf is not a video that is going to tell us what happened in the altercation. Now, the video is going to be used for a grand jury to determine whether or not Karmelo Anthony is guilty of the first-degree murder charges that he's facing, but it is not going to tell us who did what. So just so we're clear, because misinformation is, the headlines I've been seeing about it, there's a lot of YouTubers who want clickbait, and they're saying that this is completely fumbled Karmelo Anthony's self-defense case, and it really has not. It hasn't shown anything. But, people are going to be people, but I just want to be clear, because I think there are people who just want to see Karmelo Anthony go to jail, and they're not interested in the facts. And the truth of the matter is, based on the data that we've seen, based on the police reports, based on what has been collected, to me, it seems like self-defense. Austin Metcalf's own brother gave away some information that made it clear that he was responding to what his brother, the Karmelo Anthony was responding to what his brother did. So whether or not you have your own opinions and whether or not you just want to see a black boy go to jail, and I'm not really in the business of arguing whether or not you think an appropriate response to someone bullying somebody is for them to reenact violence. Like, you can't tell somebody. And again, I keep saying this, but the moral of the story to me and a lesson to be learned, and this is just for me personally, is tell your kids to keep their hands to themselves and tell your kids not to bully people. Because this could have all been avoided had Austin Metcalf kept his hands to himself and not been trying to police where people sit. This is not pre-civil rights movement. This is not where you can tell black people they need to get to the back of the bus. It doesn't work that way anymore. And so the best way for us to avoid this is to teach our kids to leave people alone. Simple. And I don't see enough people talking about that. But if we teach our kids, as someone who's worked in education, if we teach our kids not to be bullies, we really could get a lot done and move a lot of the needle forward. So that's that on the Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf situation. Next, I want to touch on the Tyler Perry lawsuit. So the Tyler Perry lawsuit, I've seen a bunch of people saying that they don't believe Dale. I don't know his real name, but the white male who is suing Tyler Perry, they're saying that they believe that they were, it's considered that it was like consensual, all the things. Let me just say this. In reading the text messages, does it seem consensual? Yes. Now, if you, though, understand what he's suing for workplace harassment. And because Tyler Perry, and this is why he's suing Tyler Perry and the studio, because Tyler Perry does own the studio and he's technically his boss, the lawsuit is not that bogus, whether or not it was consensual. Now, if I'm telling y'all this as someone who's been to people's bosses and had to fire people for similar things, it's about, when you look at these lawsuits and workplace harassment, it's about power, right? And so Tyler Perry technically had power. And so even if the Dale, whatever his name is, Derek, decided to participate or actively engage in these conversations, Tyler Perry is not allowed to do that with an employee because he's employed for him. And in the messages, you can see Tyler Perry saying to him, don't let people know we're friends because they're going to think that you only got where you wanted to be because of our friendship. He also is consistently asking him about sex. Like, you can't talk to an employee about those things when you have the ability to fire or hire them or to get them more jobs or to kick them off the show. And in those text messages, Tyler Perry is consistently seen saying that he was going to get people off the show who went against him and that he killed people off. So it's like, I understand what people are saying about it being consensual, because it does seem, based on the text messages, it seems consensual. But it doesn't matter, because if the employee says that they did not want to participate, and even if he did, to be quite honest, let's say that they both were willing participants and they actually had relations. Even if they consensually had relations, he could still go to a lawyer and say, I was forced into doing this for the sake of my job. Tyler Perry has power over me. He owns the studio. He owns the production. He hired me as someone to work for him. And I felt like I needed to continue to sleep with him in order for me to keep my job. That to me is clear as day. I think the larger issue is that Tyler Perry is saying that though it was consensual, blah, blah, the messages show Tyler Perry being extremely aggressive in that he's telling him he's a top. He said he wants to F him. He said that he asked him if he looked like a stud. The text messages were crazy. The things that Tyler Perry was saying to Derek, Dale, whatever you want to call him, were like egregious. And so because of that, and him being his boss, he can say that and this is what he's saying. He's saying, I'm only participating in this because I felt like I was going to lose my job. Now, the other thing is that this is on Tyler Perry, because this is what happens when you get with the people who don't look like us. That man went to a doctor and got put on antidepressants because he said that the harassment at the job was so intense that he couldn't handle it. He then also asked to go on a medical leave. And when he asked to go on that medical leave, Tyler Perry initially said that it would be paid and that he would pay him out for the duration of his show. He was set to make $400,000 on the Oval. And then before he resigned, he said that after they agreed to that, Tyler Perry then decided to put him on leave without pay. So that's retaliation. Listen, I hate to be the one to say it, you know what I'm saying? But it's given Tyler Perry's going down. Okay, it's given, this man was plotting this case. He knew what he was doing. Tyler Perry promised him a bunch of things. Tyler Perry did not follow through on his promises. And you're his boss. People say this often, and I don't think people take this seriously. Don't shit where you eat, especially if you're the boss, because these are all violations in accordance to HR. And the way that he filed that lawsuit, he also filed it through the Employee Complaint Commission. I think it's the ECC, whatever it is. He did his thing, and obviously a lawyer helped him do this. He saved all the text messages. I don't know why Tyler Perry was writing these things, the EOC. I don't know why Tyler Perry was writing these things through text messages. I don't know why Tyler Perry, but he was also being very aggressive. He was telling this man, I would F you. I felt uncomfortable reading the text messages. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. And listen, I'm not arguing with y'all in that. I don't think people are wrong in that this may be a money grab and he may have be trying to get. I'm not saying that, but even if it was, it's still like Tyler Perry's still on the end of like, oh, this is not looking good for you. And the text messages were released. There's too many text messages. I'm not going to read them, but if you go on either TMZ, it was released on TMZ. So either way, I don't know. It's not looking good for Tyler Perry right now. And people are saying that this is not the first time he's done this. And I actually believe that. I believe that Tyler Perry has probably been in situations like this. But like most of the celebrities, he settled before it came out to the public. But when somebody is suing you for $216 million, you can't just settle that lawsuit. So I think that's why he's choosing to fight it. That's just my personal opinion. And there's many things that can be said about Tyler. And I don't think this is about whether or not he's gay or bisexual or whatever it is. I don't think that that's what this conversation is about. Because to me, that don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Do whatever you want to do at night, but you can't do it with your employees. Like as a manager or a boss, like you just can't. So that's the update on the Tyler Perry situation. We're going to keep waiting to see how it plays out, but not looking good. Update in the Diddy trial. So I'm going to read this to y'all from TMZ because I want to give y'all the exact details. But if y'all remember, there was a Syracuse, I think he's an athlete, basketball player, who was arrested for bringing drugs across state lines in an airport, who allegedly worked for Diddy. So he testified today. He got on the stand and he testified today. And here's what happened in his testimony and what he said. He said, they say Sean Diddy Combs' ex-assistant Brandon Paul says he didn't see any force or coercion from his former boss when it came to freak-offs with Jane, and he says he was absolutely not a drug mule. So remember, they were trying to say that he's a drug mule and all of those things. Another thing that's really important, I don't know if they're going to mention it in this article, but Brandon was requested full immunity, so because he said he was going to get on the stand and plead the fifth the entire time he was on the stand, but because he was granted full immunity, he decided not to plead the fifth. So Brandon, a former Syracuse University basketball player and aspiring music producer, took to the stand Friday in Diddy's criminal trial in New York City and told jurors about his 18 months working as an assistant for the music mogul. So he was hired as an assistant for Diddy. During cross-examination from Diddy's defense team, Brian Still, Brendan testified he would often talk to Diddy's former girlfriend, Jane, before and after freak-offs, and he said she did not come across as hesitant or apprehensive, and he says that there was nothing from her indicating that she was not willing to participate. Okay, remember, a large part of the trafficking and the RICO case is whether or not there was force or coercion to get people to participate in freak-offs. The feds say Diddy was forcing and coercing Jane, who testified under the pseudonym to protect her identity, and Cassie into participating in freak-offs, drug and alcohol-infused sex marathons with male sex workers. But Diddy defense says the encounters were consensual, and Paul, who was called as a witness by the prosecutors called him to the stand, appears to be backing that up. He said he wouldn't work for someone he thought was a criminal. Okay. It was worth noting on redirect, prosecutors asked Paul if he was in the room for the freak offs, and Paul said no. So he said he wasn't in the room. So he said he spoke to Jane before and after freak offs, and it seemed like it was consensual and that it wasn't forced. Brennan also testified about being arrested with cocaine in his bag in March of 2024 at Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport when he was trying to board a plane with Diddy in the wake of the federal raids on Diddy's home in Los Angeles and Star Island, Miami. Paul told jurors the cocaine was Diddy's, so if you remember, he was arrested in an airport in Miami with cocaine, but he said he forgot about it. He forgot that it was in his bag, and he said he didn't tell the police about the drugs were Diddy's because he wanted to be loyal to his boss. Now, I don't know if that really helps because being loyal to your boss when they're trying to paint your boss as a kingpin doesn't really sound good. He says he came across the cocaine while sweeping Diddy's room and stuffed it in his bag. That doesn't really sound like it makes sense. Anyway, while Paul also testified about buying all kinds of drugs for Diddy's personal use and rolling joints in Diddy's garage, he said he was not a drug mule and has been alleged in lawsuits against Diddy, and getting drugs for Diddy was only a minor part of his job duties, but it's still a part of your job. So I don't know if that really helped or hurt. Diddy wore a gray sweater and black pants as they watched and listened to Paul's testimony, and Paul told the juror he hadn't seen or spoken to Diddy since the drug bust and characterized their relationship as complicated. Brendan's attorney, Brian Bieber, told TMZ after his client got off the stand that Brendan's testimony was crystal clear. He said he was never a drug mule for Diddy or anyone else. He was subpoenaed to come to court and tell the truth, which he did word to word. So essentially, he got on the stand and said, I bought drugs for Diddy. That was just a part of the job. And I don't think Jane Doe was forced or coerced. But again, he got immunity. And it could be questioned why he asked for immunity if he was, it could be questioned why he would ask for immunity if he didn't feel like he did anything wrong. But also, it could be questioned why he asked for immunity to not have to plead the fifth. Because why were you going to plead the fifth in the first place? So I don't know. Diddy and team could have gotten to him and he could have switched up his case. But I will say the prosecution team is the one that called him, and it doesn't feel like they got much positive out of him. But nonetheless, he did say that he bought drugs for Diddy. And that he was employed by Diddy. So in some ways, that does go towards racketeering and the RICO charge. But I think the force or coercion part and him having conversations with Jane Doe doesn't necessarily help the case, but that's what came up in the trial today. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about the Diddy trial is that the prosecution team, which is the New York who's prosecuting Diddy, was supposed to rest their case today. It was supposed to come to an end today, and it was supposed to switch to the defense's team, and the defense was supposed to be able to call their witnesses and start their own their part of the trial. However, because on Wednesday one of the jurors was too sick and had vertigo, they were not able to continue the trial on Wednesday, which means the prosecution may have to go into next week, and then we'll see it switch over to the defense. And then the trial is really coming to an end. So they predicted that by like July 4th or 5th, the trial would be over. And so we're getting to the end phases of the trial. But one of the most interesting parts is going to be seeing who the defense team, Diddy's team, calls to the witness stand. So stay tuned because I don't know what's going to happen.